What's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Now listen, if you haven't eaten yet, you might want to pause this right now and go eat, bro. Pause this right now. Let your food digest, sit for a while, chill out, leave it on pause, and come back and watch this video. Or if you like me and it's not gonna affect your eating, then let's roll. Let's go with it.
It's a fact of life. Everyone's got to eat. But while most of us are more than happy to have a sandwich,
Oh my bad, I was so excited I didn't say the title. 15 things you wouldn't believe people actually eat.
and a bag of hot Cheetos, some people are quite literally insane and would rather travel the world to eat. Well, you'll see. From a crunchy, gooey fisheye to a 4-pound cholesterol-packed cow tongue, here are the 15 things you wouldn't believe people actually eat. Number 15, Tuna Eye. As our planet continues to struggle its way through an increasingly difficult time in its existence, chefs are working to reduce their environmental impact any way that they can. Some focus exclusively on sustainable produce, some avoid single-use plastic, and some just give up that lukewarm McDonald's lunch in favor of a fresh lettuce leaf. But all of that pales in comparison to what Japanese chefs do. While most chefs work to use as much of their ingredients as possible to avoid waste, Japanese chefs truly do use every part of the fish. In sushi bars, it's common to enjoy the delicate taste of a tuna belly. But many chefs also particularly enjoy a more gross part of the fish, the eye. Believe it or not, there are many restaurants and bars in Japan that sell the fleshy eyes as appetizers or even just bar snacks. After some good cooking, the hard outer edge of the eye can be bitten into, allowing the gelatinous contents of the inside to be sucked out. Yum? Those that have been lucky enough to taste the eyes describe them as somewhat bland, similar to a more traditional seafood like squid, which explains why so many chefs work to brighten the flavor with ingredients like soy sauce and ginger. I think I'll stick to regular bar snacks. Thank you. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the
And I had tuna, like a tuna rolls type of sushi yesterday.
notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 14, cow tongue. For many Americans, the idea of eating tongue is probably pretty disgusting. But believe it or not, the cow tongue was a popular ingredient in the United States until the 1950s or so, and continues to be popular around the world. Bite your tongue really takes on a different meaning with this meal. While it may not look particularly appealing, the cow tongue is an incredibly flexible piece of meat, and has been said to taste like ordinary steak, if a little milder. This unusual ingredient is used in soups, salads, and even sandwiches around the world.
Only way I could try that is if you tell me about it after I've tasted it. So you gotta chef it up to look like something I've eaten before. And then you gotta be like, yo, that's cow tongue.
Particularly in popular regional dishes, the most famous one coming from Mexico. South of the border, curious eaters enjoy a meal known as tacos de lengua, tongue tacos for those not knowledgeable in Spanish, a recipe that is a closely guarded secret. I'm kidding, it's a tongue on a taco. It's also a popular ingredient in Korean and Japanese barbecue restaurants and is even consumed to celebrate Jewish holidays. That's right, it's kosher! For those of you on a diet, it should be said that a standard 3 to 4 pound tongue contains more protein than a T-bone steak, which would definitely help you build that muscle. Unfortunately, it's also high in cholesterol. So
see you fellas that's out there bulking right now, get you some cow tongue.
So you probably wouldn't survive too long on a tongue diet. Number 13, deep fried Mars bars. As far as world cuisine goes, it seems like Scottish food never quite caught on with the wider world, which is something of a shock considering how high fat and sugar it is. But when you look deeper, it makes sense. After all, one of the most popular takeout meals in Scotland is also one of the most, I want to say, interesting?
Yep. Fine.
In August 1995, a newspaper published an article about Scotland's craziest takeaway and kickstarted an unusual regional legacy. Thankfully, there wasn't anything too weird about it. It's not like they were serving human meat or using rats as chefs, but they were, in fact, cooking and selling what has now become known as a Scottish delicacy, the deep-fried Mars bar. It's pretty much exactly what it says on the menu, an ordinary chocolate bar, deep-fried until crisp. And while most people treat it as an occasional treat or curious delicacy, some actually eat these things often, as part of what is known as the Mars
Death on a stick is what it's known as.
Bar Supper. The Mars Bar Supper consists of a deep-fried Mars bar and chips. Or, for
Oh, baby. You eat that, bro. Gimme. See, I'm scared of stuff like that because I know I like it. I know I love it. Then I have to have it. Then I'll just overindulge in it. Like, I try to, like, stay away from because I know me, bro. I got that type of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could get addicted real easy to that.
For our non-British friends, fries. It'll come as no surprise to say that health experts have warned continuously against this meal, insisting that it's a significant driver of health conditions including obesity and diabetes. But damn if it's not delicious. Probably. Number 12, head cheese. Don't be fooled by the misleading name. This is not a piece of cheese. And believe me, when you find out what it is, you may be glad you're not getting it on your sandwiches. Head cheese is actually a terrine, but not any old terrine, obviously. This one is significantly more vomit-inducing.
Pop those in the fridge until they set up, and then voila.
Back in the Middle Ages, peasants had to find a way to eat that wouldn't break their already non-existent budget. While the elites and upper classes enjoyed meals with actual meat, peasants were forced to make do with scraps like the discarded heads of cows, pigs, or sheep. They discovered that if you simmered the head in water, you could produce a delicious stock. But when you let the skull cool, you get some delicious, natural bone gelatin that could create something even better. It was then that head cheese came into existence, a terrine made from the gummy insides of an animal head. Well, at least it's sustainable. While
Hog head cheese.
While the meat was once the domain of peasants and others that didn't have the benefit of costly ingredients, head cheese can now be found in many high-end, expensive restaurants all over the world. If you can stomach it, of course. Number 11. Frog sashimi. It seems that every single animal on the planet is eaten in some part of the world, no matter how unusual or, well, weird. Take, for example, the humble frog. Unless you've ever been to an expensive French restaurant, the likelihood of you actually eating a frog is low. But now, apparently, even Japan is getting in on the experience, so we're all probably going to be eating it soon enough. Restaurants in Japan are now producing sushi with unusual and original ingredients, including the bullfrog. After beheading and skinning the animal, the chefs use the remaining skin to serve as a presumably tasty new kind of sashimi. Obviously, this new menu item has not gone down well with animal rights activists, animal lovers, or anybody that does not like to eat animals that live in grimy-looking ponds. And when you see the way that the animal's legs continue to twitch and move even after death, it's pretty easy to understand how it might not be quite so appealing. Japanese diners tend to be pretty open-minded when it comes to their sushi, but even they are probably a little hesitant.
Bro, fam just, his eye just moved, bro. Like, y'all are eating and his eyes still moving. Like, that's what's getting me. Like, like, can y'all make sure he's dead before y'all hand him to me on a plate, fam?
About diving into basically a live frog. Yeah. Then again, it's sushi. Would you notice? Number 10, Drunken Shrimp. If you saw those words on a menu, you'd likely assume that we're talking about a delicious dish that features shrimp cooked in wine, or, if you're especially fearless, Jägermeister. And in a way, you'd be right. But we'd guess that to eat a meal like this, you'd
Shrimp and Jägermeister? I never Really thought Jaeger goes with Red Bull. Now, has shrimp and Jägermeister? I don't. Because it already tastes like cough syrup alone. Like, you know what I'm saying? But the Red Bull makes it good. Now, shrimp? I don't know.
Probably have to be pretty hammered yourself. All across Asia, restaurants serve what they claim to be authentic drunken shrimp. And while some are wildly different recipes, they have some basic similarities. The one requirement for a dish to be classified as drunken shrimp, the little critters have to be served alive and moving. Yeah, probably best to crack out a bottle or 6 of wine before you dare try them. While the Japanese prefer to serve the fish without any cooking oil, Chinese chefs like to get them absolutely wasted first, soaking them in spirits and marinating until they've absorbed the flavor of their marinade. Then they're served in a quirky glass goblet with a lid that will, hopefully,
that one I'm willing to try, though. I can't lie to you. Drunken shrimp, I'm gonna have to look that recipe up, man.
prevent them from flinging up into your face. So that's fun. If you were to serve live produce in the Western world, it's highly likely your restaurant would be immediately closed and never allowed to open again. But Asia is a whole other culture, and by all accounts, these hammered little friends are actually surprisingly tasty. Alcohol can do some incredible things. Number 9. Sea urchin. For most of us, poor folk, the eating habits of the rich have always been a little bit unusual. While some like to just hunt random animals in their backyard and eat them, others prefer the exotic flavors of whatever the hell has been dredged up from, well, pretty much anywhere. The sea urchin is a spiky creature that lives deep beneath the sea, and upon first glance, it's probably not the kind of thing that would make you hungry, but over the past few years, the sea urchin has become a much-loved staple of chefs' menus worldwide, finding its way into pasta sauces,
How much for each one?
$5. You get them right over there.
Chinese food, and even into Gordon Ramsay's scrambled eggs. I would imagine that few people would want to be eating a bottom feeder with their breakfast eggs, but that may be why I'm a voice actor and not a multi-millionaire celebrity chef. Those that have tasted the sea urchin describe it as creamy, slightly sweet, and tasting like the sea without being fishy. That's a unique flavor profile for one bit of seafood, it's fair to say. Still not sure if I want it with my eggs though, Gordon. Number 8. Sashimi. There will probably be a lot of comments from those that genuinely love sashimi and cannot understand why we've put it on this list. But sorry, it's kind of weird. Delicious, yes, and nutritious, sure, why not? But weird, absolutely. Anybody with a basic understanding of cooking knows that the official guidelines appointed by the FDA and
See, when you're a traveler and you go to some of these countries, a lot of these countries, bro, you go there, they're gonna look at you as weird, as if you're not trying and eating this stuff, bro. You know what I'm saying? Expect that.
other global bodies on food advise to never serve or consume raw or uncooked meat of any kind. We're also told that some raw fish contain mercury, and that too much of it can kill us. Obviously, nobody listens to the FDA, which is why things like sushi and steak tartare and all other kinds of raw meat dishes are still massively popular around the world. But the risk of potential salmonella or other potential fatal parasitic infection is a real big one to overcome when it comes to raw fish. Sushi is an incredibly complex and masterful form of cooking. But it will never not be unusual that so many people are willing to eat raw meat. But at least you'll always have a friend in you. When you get that eventual tapeworm. Number 7. Cassu Marzu. If you have a sensitive
Yeah, this dude here's a trip. When you get that tapeworm,
stomach, this one is very much not for you. Actually, if you like food at all, this is the time for you to step away and do something else. Still with us? You're brave. This is the most dangerous cheese in the world.
I bet that smelled like, oh, bro. You ever smell milk when it curdles like that? Ah.
It's also the most disgusting cheese in the world. And frankly, I have no idea why it exists or why it is sold. Cassu Marzu is a highly specific kind of Italian cheese and is considered a rare delicacy, partially because it's illegal, and partially, well, mostly because it's deliberately infested with maggots. Yup, originating in the beautiful Italian island of Sardinia. Cassu Marzu is an otherwise ordinary sheep's milk cheese and takes a long time to produce, most likely because it ends up with thousands and thousands of maggots and larvae. Are you feeling sick yet? Why this particular cheese exists, or why anybody would go to such lengths to find, produce, sell, buy, eat, or even go in search of it, is anybody's guess. But I, for one, am pretty revolted by the very idea of it. Maybe it was invented to kill someone. What a way to go. Number 6, insects. Look, we're not here to start critiquing the food culture of other countries. We love everyone equally, and we admire every individual culture for all that they bring to the world. But this kind of thing would get you shut down and detained in any Western country. So, it is a little...
And I agree with him, because the thing I admire about these other countries that have these extravagant eating habits like this, bro, if something went wrong to where you would have to live off the land, who's more likely to survive? Exactly.
Weird. While America and other Western countries like to improve the flavor of our street food with condiments like ketchup, mustard, barbecue sauce, or some kind of questionable mix of all of the above, Cambodia has its own intriguing ingredients. No matter where you go in Cambodia, it seems just about every street food vendor offers insects as snacks. Whether it's fried tarantula, crispy grasshopper, or giant water bugs, it seems everything is designed to be as natural as possible. But while most of us will be pretty repulsed by this, science has shown that these ingredients are actually great for our health. So, are we the weird ones? You tell me. For many, the addition of insects to salads and soups transforms an otherwise mundane street food meal into a gourmet restaurant dish. For people like me, I'm okay sitting on my couch with a bag of Cheetos, I think. Number 5. Fruit bat soup. When you're devouring on delicacies out of the
Corona.
ordinary, chances are you'd rather not have to look at what you're actually eating. While insects and exotic animals probably taste delicious, they're not exactly aesthetically pleasing, are they? Well, let's just say that's not a lesson chefs in Palau have learned just yet. Easily the most famous dish in one of the world's least famous countries, fruit bat soup is far from the most visually pleasant meal, served in a large bowl with a
Look how he's looking at you, bruh. Oh man, appearance is like, no, that just, can't do it. Can't do it. And I consider myself to have an iron stomach, fam. No, look at bruh.
Flavorful and hopefully delicious soup, the centerpiece of the dish is the whole fruit bat that just kind of stares into your soul as you eat it. It's one of the most unnerving mealtime sights you could ever hope to have in your life. But, as with just about every delicacy in the world, there are some slightly imbalanced people that will go out of their way to taste it for themselves. And, apparently, it tastes good? I'm not here to judge. Even if the sight of this dish doesn't necessarily appeal to you, you have to admit that it takes some courage to put an animal corpse on the plate alongside the food. It's like giving someone a steak and also a whole cow to physically watch them eat. Number 4, blood pudding. Here's another food product that comes with a warning for the squeamish.
If you're squeamish, you may want to turn away.
While pretty much every protein is made up of some form of animal meat, this one is a little extra gross. Okay, it's actually a lot grosser. Well, unless you're part vampire and love blood. If that's the case, you're in luck. Blood pudding is a sausage made from, you guessed it, animal blood, and is particularly popular in the United Kingdom, where it's a part of the artery-clogging meal known as the full English breakfast. To produce an edible sausage, the blood is mixed with oat oatmeal, and some kind of fat before being pushed into its casing, which is already pretty disgusting. Then, depending on the intended use, the blood sausage is then boiled, fried, or grilled before it's sliced up. It's pretty dang gross, all things considered, but if there's one thing we know about humans, it's that we actually kind of like gross things. Blood sausages are produced all over the world, with regional markets adding their own spice and seasonings to the blood to produce a specific taste.
How do you know if it's animal blood all the time, though? Just a question. Just asking. How do you know it's not human blood sometimes?
I
hate to be that guy, but...
Yes, that's the edible difference between type A and type O. Number 3, Eskimo Ice Cream. Yes, we know it sounds adorable when we put it like that, but actually, Eskimo Ice Cream, or akutak as it's known, is a real mishmash of ingredients. Seriously, it almost seems like this food came along entirely by accident. I imagine it tastes like it too. The indigenous peoples of Alaska developed this delicacy, and they've now been enjoying it for thousands upon thousands of years. Made up of reindeer fat, seal oil, fresh snow, fresh berries, and the occasional fish, akutak sounds like the complete opposite of what we know to be ice cream, but it's just as popular among these indigenous people. At one point, when hunters would venture out to capture their next meal, they would apparently bring along some akutak as a snack. In fact, they became so talented at producing this miraculous snack that just about anyone could transform this mess of ingredients into a light, foamy delight, and through the use of air whipped into the stuff. Today, akutak is just as popular as it has ever been among Alaska's indigenous population, though it has yet to make it into everyday American supermarkets. There's still time though. Better get your reindeer fat ready. Number 2, scorpions. If there's one timeless rule of thumb when it comes to food, it's this. Do not eat anything poisonous or even with a stinger. At least not until it's all cut off and rendered harmless. But when it comes to Chinese cuisine, those rules do not apply. In fact, pretty much everything is quite literally on the table. Throughout southern China, insects and other unusual delicacies are incredibly popular street food options for curious or gullible tourists to try out. And one of the most popular of those delicacies, the notoriously dangerous scorpion. Human instinct tells us not to even touch these fried morsels of terror. But as Chinese chefs often say to concerned visitors, the heat kills the poison. Apparently, there aren't many locals that actually eat fried scorpion. But there's a great tourist market that loves to try things, and I bet most of those tourists also have YouTube vlogs. Most people that eat scorpion have lived to tell the tale. However, we're still pretty uncertain as to why anybody would willingly volunteer themselves to eat one of the most poisonous animals on the planet. Still, there's one.
How much money would it take for y'all to try that? Just let me know. You know what I'm saying? We might be able to work something out.
thing we can all agree on. Tourists are beyond gullible. Number 1, rooster testicles. Of all the entries on this list, this is probably the least surprising. It seems like no matter where you go on Earth, there will always be someone willing to eat questionable animal genitals. That's a sad fact of life, but it's true. And for some reason, there are always tourists that want to eat them. What are the chances of that? If you're particularly curious about what rooster balls taste like, maybe a trip to Hungary is just what the,
If you're curious of what rooster balls taste like, then you came to the right place.
Ordered as Hungary's #1 rooster testicle dish, Cassu Marzu is a stew made up of presumably delicious rooster testicles and vegetables, alongside dumplings, potatoes, or just some good old-fashioned white bread. Thankfully, locals in Hungary are not actually that hungry for rooster testicle stew, leaving it for the curious tourists to enjoy. That is, of course, provided that they don't have a nut allergy. I will take my applause off the air. Thank you. Today, Cassu Marzu is most commonly found at festivals where drunken revelers who have all but given up on ordinary nutrition happily volunteer to try some testicular stew. I think I'll stick to my toasted nut.
Listen, I'm not that hungry yet. So I'll never say never, but I'm just not that hungry yet, bro. You get me? Like, and I enjoy going to different countries, man, and being a tourist, but nah, I'm not that hungry yet, man. Maybe y'all, let me know if y'all tried it, how'd it go? And I'm still not gonna try it though. Told y'all, man. I warned you at the beginning of the video, bro. Hopefully you kept your meal down. If you got an iron stomach like me, then you good. So stick around to the next reaction. I'm out. Peace. Y'all stay solid. Hey.